Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to really get into some fascinating and sometimes pretty tough truths about our world. Today we're taking a deep dive into the incredible world of cetaceans. That's whales, dolphins, porpoises, and we're facing up to the very real crisis that many of them are in right now. We've gathered quite a bit of material for you, scientific papers, conservation reports, you name it. Our goal today is to unpack what makes these marine mammals so amazing, figure out why some are, well, literally on the edge of disappearing. And maybe uncover some surprising things along the way.
It's definitely a critical topic. Cetaceans, they live in every single ocean. But some species, they're just unbelievably rare. We're talking about creatures teetering right on the brink, potentially vanishing within our lifetimes.
Yeah, and when you talk about rarity, about urgency, one name just immediately comes up. It's such a stark example of how fast things can go wrong. The vaquita.
Ah, yes.
This tiny porpoise, it's considered the rarest cetacean in the world. And get this, it only lives in one specific spot, the Gulf of California, in Mexico, nowhere else. And the latest numbers from 2024, they're just crushing. Fewer than 10 individuals left.
Fewer than 10. It's almost impossible to comprehend.
It really is. And the main threat isn't just general fishing. It's very specific. Illegal gill nets. These nets are actually set for a fish called the totoaba. Its swim bladder fishes a high price on the black market, but the vaquita gets trapped in them. It's devastating bycatch.
Exactly.
And here's something else that's just mind-boggling. The vaquita was only scientifically discovered in 1958, and it's already almost extinct.
That speed. From discovery to near extinction in, 60, 70 years? It's horrifying. It really lays bare the brutal impact of these black markets. A demand for one thing decimating a species we barely even knew. And it shows how, specific human actions targeting one resource can just have these catastrophic ripple effects, unintended consequences.
Makes you wonder if we can even find them fast enough, before it's too late. So the vaquita, this tiny creature, is a painful reminder. But the problem isn't just with the small ones. Let's shift focus now to one of the ocean's giants, also in deep trouble, the North Atlantic right whale.
Right. A very different scale, but similar urgency.
Yeah, this is one of the most threatened large whales. Fewer than 350 left. You find them mainly off the east coast of the U.S. and Canada. Busy waters.
Very busy.
And their main threats, collisions with ships and getting tangled up in fishing gear. And the name itself, right whale. It's quite poignant, isn't it?
It really is.
Whalers call them that because they were slow, they floated, when killed, full of oil. Basically the right ones to hunt.
And that name, born from exploitation, now highlights this terrible modern irony. Their slowness, the very thing that made them easy targets then, now makes them incredibly vulnerable to our ships, our fishing lines. So much effort now just goes into trying to avoid hitting them, in these crowded shipping lanes. It's this constant, really difficult balancing act between our activities and their survival.
It really forces a rethink of what progress means on the water, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so from the vast ocean, let's move to a freshwater story. And this one is, well, it's tragic. The Beiji. Also known as the Yangtze River dolphin.
Ah, yes. A truly heartbreaking case.
This was a dolphin found only in China's Yangtze River. Only there. Its status now, functionally extinct. Declared around 2006 after expeditions just couldn't find any. None.
Gone.
And the causes, it's a grim list, really. Rampant pollution, overwhelming boat traffic, dams, habitat destruction. Basically, the river became unlivable for them. What makes it even sadder, perhaps, is its cultural place. It was called the goddess of the Yangtze, revered in folklore.
The Beiji is, well, it's the ultimate cautionary tale, isn't it? It shows just how incredibly fast a species can disappear when its whole world, its ecosystem, like a major river, is fundamentally altered by human activity. And it tells us that even deep cultural significance, being a goddess, offers no real protection when the environmental pressures become overwhelming. The myth couldn't save the reality.
A truly sobering thought, really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a species lost to one that's hanging on, but against some serious odds. Let's talk about the Western Pacific gray whale.
Right, a very distinct population.
Extremely rare. We're talking fewer than 200 individuals in this group. They undertake this huge migration between the Okhotsk Sea near Russia and waters off Japan and China.
Across several national boundaries.
Exactly. And the threats are, again, a mix. Pollution, getting accidentally caught in fishing nets, and also a lot of disturbance from human activities, especially things like oil and gas exploration in their critical feeding area.
Voice pollution, too.
Yeah. And what's crucial to understand is that this population is genetically different from the gray whales we see more commonly off the coast of North America, the eastern Pacific ones.
They are unique, irreplaceable.
So losing them is losing something distinct forever.
And protecting them, Well, it's incredibly complex precisely because of that migration you mentioned. They cross international borders. So efforts in Japan might be useless if their Russian feeding grounds are disrupted or if pollution is bad off Korea. It boils down to this really difficult question. How do you get multiple countries to prioritize saving this one migratory species, potentially over their own immediate economic interests? It's a huge diplomatic and conservation challenge.
That's a question that just keeps coming up, isn't it, in so many of these cases. Okay, let's move to another freshwater cetacean. This one may be a bit more familiar, at least by name, and shrouded in mystique. The Amazon River dolphin.
The bobslow, yes. The pink river dolphin.
That's the one. The Botocorda, found in the Amazon and Orinoco river systems. Vast areas. Threats here are, again, sadly familiar themes. Pollution, especially from mining runoff.
Mercury pollution is a big one there.
Right. And also dams, building massive dams. Fragments their habitat, cuts off populations. And then there's illegal hunting, sometimes for bait. But what's so captivating about the Botocorda is its place in local folklore. It's seen as this magical creature.
The shapeshifter.
Exactly. Said to turn into a handsome man at night, to seduce women. It's deeply woven into Amazonian culture.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how powerful that cultural connection is. But it's also a stark example of how even deep cultural roots, being part of the mythology, doesn't automatically shield a species in the modern world. Despite the legends, they're still falling victim to pollution, to dams, to habitat loss driven by development. The folklore struggles against the relentless pace of resource extraction.
Yeah, that clash between magic and modernity. That's quite something. Okay, to sort of round out our specific examples, let's touch on one more. A lesser-known giant, but still facing serious threats. The pygmy blue whale.
Right, a subspecies of the largest animal on Earth.
Exactly. So pygmy is relative here. They live mainly in the southern hemisphere, often in these huge, remote areas of the Indian and southern Pacific Oceans, places we don't study as intensely.
Very hard to track.
Which makes assessing their numbers really difficult.
Yeah.
But the consensus is they are threatened. Key threats. Well, historical whaling hit all blue whales hard, including this subspecies. And now the big pervasive issue, climate change. Affecting their food, their environment, and that name paradox, pygmy blue whale. Yet they can still reach, what, up to 24 meters? That's enormous.
It is. Still a giant by any measure. And that name, that difficulty in studying them, it really underscores how much we still don't know about our oceans. There are likely populations and dynamics we barely understand. And when you bring in climate change, well, that's a threat that isn't like a specific net or a single pollutant. It's diffuse. It changes ocean chemistry, temperature, it impacts the krill they feed on, alters migration routes. It's this huge overarching pressure, harder to pin down, but potentially devastating.
So we've looked at the tiny vaquita, the giant right whale, the lost beige, the migratory gray whale, the magical boto, the paradoxical pygmy blue. After diving into all these specific stories, each one showing vulnerability in different ways, what's the big picture here? What does it all really mean for us?
Well, the connecting thread, the really clear takeaway from all these examples is that the primary reasons these amazing animals are endangered, they loop directly back to us, to human actions. Whether it's, the accidental catch in fishing gear.
Like the vaquita.
Exactly. Or the slow creep of pollution, be it chemical or noise.
The beige, the boto.
Yep, right. Or the outright destruction of their homes, their habitats, for dams, for shipping lanes, for resource extraction.
The right whale, the gray whale.
And then layered over all of that is the accelerating threat of climate change, impacting everything from the pygmy blue whale's food to potentially altering migration patterns for many species. These are consequences of how we live, how we use the planet. And the reality, the urgent bottom line, is pretty stark. Without serious, coordinated, global efforts to protect them right now, these incredible, irreplaceable creatures could simply vanish forever.
Hearing it all laid out like that, this deep dive really underscores the urgency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The absolute need for action to protect these incredible cetaceans.
It does. And maybe it leaves you with a final thought to chew on. Cetaceans are often called indicator species. Their health reflects the health of the entire ocean ecosystem. So given their increasingly precarious state, what does that actually tell us about the future health of our oceans, and maybe even the future of our planet? And what's our individual and collective role in changing that trajectory? Not just for them, but for the vast marine world they represent, and ultimately for ourselves.
That's a really powerful question to sit with, something to definitely reflect on long after we finish up here. We really hope you'll continue exploring these vital topics on your own. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.